First of all, I remember my mentor, Dino. I'm now Dino, and Tony is now me. We've changed places. And Dino Scarlo. And I remember when we did British Uprising 1, and he was insistent that before Doug and Jerry Lynn, we book Drew McDonald and Robbie Brookside. Now, we're charging people £50 for a ticket. And we've got Balls Mahoney, and we've got Jodie jumping off balconies, and we've got AJ Styles and Johnny Storm, and the most inventive three-way dance in the history of British wrestling at that point. And he wants me to put on Robbie Brookside and Drew McDonald. Now, no disrespect to these two, but I knew that was not the match that the people paying £50 for those tickets wanted to see. But I trusted him on it, and it was reviewed terribly. However, when Jerry Lynn walked through the curtain, the roof blew off the place. Now, that was going to happen to an extent anyway, but not like... I mean, it was on Frontline a couple of weeks ago. Robbie and Drew, and Dino explained to me, we could have put some backyarders on there who could have done 1,000,001 flips, and that would have brought the audience down in a, oh my God, this is bad. Or we can put a professional match, bring the audience down and take them back up again. Now look where it was placed. It was placed after the interval. So it wasn't even like it was part of the show. The interval was short. We've given them a 7-minute video. In that video there, that is outlined the rest of our stories for the rest of the year, okay? Look at the guys that came through the curtain. It was an adrenaline 6-man tag, the most heat those guys had ever got in their life. I mean, the roof blew off the place. That was on Frontline as well, okay? So it worked. The next thing I want to say is there's multiple elements to look at this. Number one, the FWA is not a product. It's never been about creating a product for the people just in the hall. That's what Brian Dixon does, and he's got that market cornered. Ours is about reaching the bigger market. So it doesn't matter how many people are in that building. If we're there just to give them what they want so that they can, wrestling. How many people there just saw wrestling in the paper? Because we put some newspaper advertising, went to see it. To them, that memory is temporary. That footage for us is for life, okay? So we have to do things that isn't just for the live audience. You don't judge Raw on your experience as a customer sitting watching the show. You judge it on the TV product you get. We are doing television recordings now, whether we're on TV or not. Online TV is TV now. Everybody's got the internet, so it is television. It's as relevant as being on ITV 20 years ago. So we had to take a chance. Secondly, we knew you're a commentator. Who does your commentary notes? Well, we work on it together, but I as head of content. So we knew that the whole point of the next match was to discuss this storyline, which we said it was planned that we knew it wasn't going to get over. We didn't think that there were going to be people in that audience going, wow, this is amazing. Some people got it. And as a result, it is the most watched video in the history of the FWA since it returned. It took no editing, nothing really. I mean, literally, there was no multi-cams, there was no drop-ins. So the cheapest video we've ever produced is the most watched. Now, would it have had that many hits? And remember, for every hit, what that person is doing is then imprinting in their subconscious our storyline for the rest of the year. Would it have got as many hits if it didn't get the boos that it got? No way on earth would it. It would have got maybe a couple of hundred, but most people watched it. Even our rival promoters watched it because they wanted to see what are these idiots doing now. And that is good publicity. I can bear the audience booing for 3 minutes out of a 3-hour show, which was superb. And as a performer, when I'm wrestling somebody, sometimes when I'm wrestling a young guy, they want to finish it. They want to, they want to get to the end really quickly because they want the near falls. But it's all about building the heat. A skyscraper is only a skyscraper if you take your time building those floors. Why give everything straight away? Bring them down. So what we could have done was we could have put a really slow match in there, a real technical match, and brought them down. But I am given restrictions on my wage bill. So I did what I did in a way that didn't cost us any money, that delivered on our storyline for the rest of the year. And also, it's now looking like the people involved in that are actually psychic. So I stand by it. And I think you ask the guys in the 6-man tag, they'll tell you that there, it was worth those boots. Those people didn't think about that. The rest of the audience didn't think about that when it ended. They saw a great show. And the biggest pop on the whole show was the last pop when Leroy got the pin after Doug Williams turned up. Remember, Doug got the second biggest pop of the night, even though he was advertised. So I think it did a really good job for everyone, I believe.
I want to bring in Justin Richards at this point. Now, Justin, you just heard a fairly compelling defence from Alex Shane there of the reasons behind that video. But I wonder if some people watching this, however good it might sound in theory, might be looking at this, and the thing that won't quite square with them in their mind is the fact that, whatever Alex says with respect, there were fans there who were booing their heads off, frankly, at a video that was shown during that show. Now, if professional wrestling, however good the long-term planning might be, if professional wrestling isn't pleasing the fans who've come to see it, then what's it for?
Well, first of all, Alex, we've known each other for more years than I can, remember at the moment. But going back about 5 years ago, we had like quite a big falling out. The source of that was from me doing an interview and making a remark that Alex Shane was either the best thing for British wrestling or the worst. You took great offence to that. This is one of these moments that brings up that same statement I made. Your decision to actually screen the video and your defence that you've just made, by the audience booing, I believe they weren't booing for the right reason. They were booing because they just didn't approve of what you were presenting to them. It was the wrong type of booing that you were chasing after from the audience in this case.
Chasing after that booing. That was just. Am I called to come back? Is that all right?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I wasn't after any reaction from that video. I wasn't after any reaction. That video. Patrick Lennon sat in a chair was never going to get heat. That is because we're creating a product. The thing is, Justin, the reason I took offence to that is because you said I'm either the best or the worst. No shade of grey. I'm either the best thing or the worst thing. Now, it's the wrestling business. It's not wrestling. It's not business. The nature of what we do is a hybrid, which is why I've been very successful at it, because I understand that it's a hybrid of the wrestling and the business. So I'm not the best thing or the worst thing. And actually, if you look at it, the audience booing for 3 minutes out of a 3-hour show, you put forward a match on the Adrenaline show that was the least heat of any of the matches there, right? I watched it and it was a really, really well executed match. But if you asked them what was the most boring match, the audience would have said that your students were the most boring because they took their time with the wrestling, okay? So me and you are literally the complete polar opposite ends of the spectrum. But I understand that match that those guys did was exactly needed and required, right? So I appreciate the need for that. But I don't think you appreciate the need for the showbiz side of pro wrestling.
Okay. I do understand the need for fluff in pro wrestling, which is...
But it's not fluff. How is it fluff?
It's my opinion of what you're offering.
But it's not fluff. We're not talking amateur wrestling. We're talking professional wrestling. So what you say is fluff. Is I say that's the fabric. That's the stitching that holds our industry together. It's not fluff. It's essential.
Okay. You're taking my using of the word fluff as a negative sense. It's not negative. I understand the entertainment, the showmanship side of professional wrestling. But how much fluff is too much fluff?
7 minutes out of 3 hours.
I believe that people really, you've turned people away from your product. I really don't believe you can go on. You can say about the how many hits the scientist received since that video. I believe you actually turned people away.
We may have turned people away, but the thing is, the product that we're chasing, okay, wrestling needs to become. There's already in a recession, the businesses that thrive are the ones that hit a niche. Okay, Now we're not looking to hit a niche, okay, but we're not looking to compete with somebody who already has a niche cornered. Brian Dixon has the family market cornered. We are not going to compete with that, okay? We can't at this point, okay? Because we don't have the funds to go into all these venues and put all those newspaper advertising in. He's got that. So what we need to do is we need to draw people from all around the world to our YouTube channel because that is free for them. We're drawing 500 people minimum, sometimes 1,000 people every single week. In the current economic climate, that is as financially viable to. In fact, it's better for us to do that. There are promoters. Brian Dixon told me himself he loses money on some shows. We don't lose. Technically, it costs us money to make Frontline, but it's my time and Len's electricity and equipment and FWA's footage. So we're drawing the same number of people, but without having to pay for a show.
This is the resistance, and we need your help.